Hello, welcome all back to actual play Scum and Villainy, Persephone. We last time we were on a terrifying planet called Omega. We were only able to arrive here safely because of our friends in the agony, who are also terrifying. And we've gotten through a few of the obstacles, and I think last we just left off walking across the bridge of fate, destiny, trust, the way, who knows. Um, Anywho, uh, Whisper right now is having thoughts about how hypergates work and the fact that if they're actually way driven and he's been trusting in like the way his whole life every time he passes through a hypergate, it's really scaring him. It's like people get scared of using the transporters after they realize how they work. Anywho, so that's I'm excited to be afraid of everything going on around us. How about you, Lauren?
Hey guys, I'm Lauren. I use she and their pronouns. I will be playing Dipper. He says they, them. They are an bot who is, I guess, like more rapidly crystallizing and is experiencing feelings of mortality. But it's fine because we're gonna go fix that. It was interesting trying to recall what happened last time. I was like, we'll probably have a mission, have some fun. And I was like, oh yeah, I have like 2 stress left. Like, oh yeah, we're walking over this invisible chasm. And like, oh yeah, like we're just getting begun on this mission. So I'm very excited to see what happens. I'm sure it'll be explosive. How about you, Steven?
Hello, everybody. I'm Steven. I use he, him pronouns. I'm playing Scion, also he, him. Yes, like some very exciting things going on. Of course, Scion sitting pretty on zero stress. So, maybe it's time to step up and, take those defense actions. Looking forward to seeing how like the Weird Way Temple opens up. Jen, how about you?
Hello, I'm Jen Martin. I use she, her pronouns. I'll be playing Ula, which I'm super excited about because I took a break from her for a while. And yeah, we're in a temple full of Urtek, and Ula is obsessed with Urtek. So I'm sure that won't cause any problems, and it will be smooth sailing the whole time, right? What about you, Strash?
Hey, I'm Strash. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on the internet at Strash. I'm gonna be GMing because that's the thing I do sometimes. So yeah, I've got all sorts of notes on weird precursor temples. So shall we get started, folks?
Yeah,
Do you
let's
want
do
to?
it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think Sean did the quick review of we're on planet Oh No's Mega. Yeah,
Oh,
Omega.
no,
Sorry.
it's me.
Yeah, and we got past some terrifying xenomorphic life forms, and yeah, we're deep in the temple at the moment. So yeah, I think yeah, let's do this. I think you folks are traversing the temple, and I think that it's there's probably a lot of cuts of you folks like traveling and making notes, and every once in a while there's like angry scribbling because like the connections between the rooms make no sense. But
It's one of
we're
those
not gonna
non-Euclidean.
non-Euclidean, right?
You,
So
you,
like
you turn a right turn 5 times and you're in a different place.
so let me talk about Blaze in the Dark real quick, or the Force in the Dark engine, as it were. One of the things that Force in the Dark doesn't generally do is like room by room, very classic old school dungeon crawls. Like generally what we're going to do is we're going to assume that you folks are competent adventurers that have been through a bunch of space adventures. So a lot of the like empty rooms and tedium and things like that, we're just going to hand wave, and we're going to take a look at a couple of obstacles. I have a little clock as you folks are traversing it to overcome a couple of these obstacles. And then it's really cool because one of the clocks is weirdness. So yeah. When you have suffered enough weirdness, that stops being an obstacle apparently in precursor temples. Yeah, let's just get to a cool room. There's a moment where you folks are walking, and you realize that I'm sorry, you can't see him, but there's a little black cat that keeps capturing my hand and asking for pets. There is an interesting. It's a cylinder, and it's fairly large. And when you first approach it, it's not clear what you're approaching because it is, the dimension is very large. But more importantly, there's a strange light. The light starts shifting to like shades of blue, and it starts becoming very dim. As much as this place has been abandoned, you also haven't had any problems with lighting. For whatever reason, the are very considerate, and they seem to see in the similar EM spectrum that you folks do, a little bit above, a little bit below. Sometimes the rooms are a little differently lit. But yeah, as you folks reach this room, you realize that there is a solid cylinder of water. And just to skip past the obvious questions, because we're not doing the whole like pixel bitch and dungeon thing.
Poke it with a stick.
Yeah, your hand gets wet or your stick gets wet, and when you pull it back out, it's still wet, but it doesn't, like, the whole thing doesn't collapse and then gush you out yet. And as if you stick your face in it, you realize that you are walking underwater, but for reasons that are 100% unclear, you can breathe just fine. The scientists among you might be confused as to how this like oxygen separation from water is working at such a rapid pace with no obvious mechanism, but it doesn't matter. It just seems to, because woo, precursors. So yeah, so there's this massive cylinder, this cylindrical room, and when you merge through the water wall, you realize that well, there's a couple of things. Have any of you ever been to the planet Mem?
I think Ula might have.
It's a giant water world.
Yeah.
And my question for you is, how deep have you been? Because most hegemonic citizens that don't have gills tend to stay on the surface.
Mm-hmm. I think she definitely went into some water, but probably not very deep.
All right. Well, the reason I'm asking is this may not be obvious, but the water color is very, very specific. And it would be reminiscent of that planet. That's about it. But yeah, as you step in and you start walking through, the place is difficult to traverse. It's like walking through a jungle, because there is like thousands of feet of what is the equivalent of kelp. And
are we like, swimming through it, or are we walking through
it?
Now
you're walking on the bottom.
Okay.
But the kelp seems to be moving in water currents and things like that. You yourself are currently not affected. You can feel like a push, but it's almost like a breeze. But yeah, there's it's like a forest. Like, you know, it's not pretty. It's not artfully arranged to produce you know, a cool effect. It's not floating near the surface to absorb light correctly. It's like walking through a jungle, right? Like you folks are actually like pushing your way through it, and it's a little slimy, but yeah, it's fine.
When we breathe out, do air bubbles come out? Like, is there like an actual source of oxygen that we're breathing in? And
no, it seems like you feel the cold of like almost like water going into your nose, but like when it doesn't actually like go down your throat or make you choke. It just turns to air somehow. Perfectly normal room.
And our brains are just processing it as air.
Yeah. Very unsettling. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Just gonna accept that as is. I think suffice to say that Whisper is you know, reluctant to just stick his head in it first, but obviously we figure it out. Goes on. Yeah.
I feel like are we seeing any particular threats, or are we seeing any particular points of interest that are drawing our eyes, or is the current challenge just like getting through this?
I'm sorry. I guess I should have made things. I just wanted to see if you folks had any reactions. Like, do you rope each other off? Are you holding hands? Do you just try to walk and hope for the best? Like, I kind of wanted to see the situation before I added my little pepper. But since you're asking, there are occasionally, as you folks are, you know, walking through, you do see the plants sway as if something is moving through them, and every once in a while you catch like the dark motion of perhaps some sort of aquatic beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nothing yet. Mostly because I want to see what kind of position you're in before things go to shit.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna hold hands, like Ula will totally hold Whisper's hand, probably whether or not he wants her to.
Yeah. I think at first Whisper might not like flinch away, but like might be a bit surprised if you just grab his hand, because everything's kind of got, all this way stuff has got him on edge. But yeah, no, Whisper will totally hold Ula's hand, and then I think reach out to Dipper, right? And I don't know if Dipper has. Let's see, which frame are you in, Dipper? Remind us.
I think I went in the light frame. Yeah, because we were doing some hacking. Yeah. So that sort of light, like antelope-y kind of frame.
So I don't imagine you have hands free, do you? Do you have fiber optic tentacles?
I think I still have my fiber optic tentacles. They could totally hold your hand.
They're on your they're Dipper's insides, Sean.
I guess my question is, like when they're Dippers, they're every Urbot's insides, but in Dipper's case, they can also be their outsides. So
That's true.
in this frame. So yeah, I think I looking up at this dark blue murk above us as though it's the starless night and we're lost in the woods of this aquatic jungle. Whisper reaches out to Dipper to see if they will hold his hand in some capacity. Whatever. Leave that to you.
I think Whisper does, but like a split second before, Dipper would have just like strolled away by themselves. I think like they have a look in their eye, their stormy eyes that are like, I got this, I know this, I fought boy deals before, like I can totally help save everyone. And they're about to sort of like stride out, and you grab Dipper's hand and they're like, oh, but I probably should go with everyone else. Like, yeah.
Nice.
Take your hand. I'm going to reach out for Scion.
Notably,
I imagine that is then the order we're walking in. Ula, Whisper, Dipper, Scion in terms of
notably, Scion is about 15 feet back, just standing stock still and like wide-eyed looking around, like maybe he saw something. And I think this is when like I'm trying to like gather information because I feel like this is an incredibly dangerous area.
So I think you're the first person to see it. So I think like as you folks are walking, you see a shift through the plants, right? And it's an eel. It looks a lot like the whale that you've seen. It's partially translucent. It definitely seems like it's been sniffing at you for a bit, and for a second everyone's like, oh, an eel, right? Like those of you that have had void blades shown on Lexol, that he's got these kinds of creatures implanted in his back and stuff. And for a second everyone's like, aha, an eel. And that's when the massive thing with the crocodilian mouth just like closes its jaws on this eel, and like
nice.
You realize
nice.
There's a bigger fish that's the problem. So yeah,
we're gonna need a bigger fish.
Yeah, except that this bigger fish thinks that you're delicious. So what's the plan here?
Oh man,
how far away is this crocodile monster, and has it detected it?
Oh yeah. That was the announcement. I think it was just picking up like an aperitif before it comes for the main course here. So yeah, like you see the eel, and everyone's like, either reaching for blasters or like getting ready to fight or getting ready to run, whatever the case may be. But yeah, like just as the eel's like, it's like wham. And then you feel like the parting of the jungle, and this thing is swimming around. So yeah. So what do you folks want to do?
I'm frozen in fear.
Awesome.
Dipper is definitely going to recklessly charge at that thing.
So I have a question for you, Dipper. The fish seem to be swimming just fine, but you folks are walking on the bottom of this thing. How are you planning on attacking this thing? Because it's moving through the water sort of three-dimensionally in this tank. It's pretty big.
Dipper's got jets.
Yeah, I got my jump jets.
They've got jets.
Actually, do you? Because your jets are on your medium frame.
I
Oh.
have sorry, I have retractable legs that I can jump good.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You've got super good jump legs. Awesome.
Yeah.
Second question. This thing is huge. What are you planning to do with it?
I think I want to it's huge, but I'm quite hard and pointy, so I think would probably pull out the vibro blade, and then just kind of sort of lance it.
All right, let's see how that goes. I think it's pretty funny because Scion we heard was frozen in fear. Dipper, you hear the whine as your servos wind up and you get ready for the leap. What are the rest of you doing there? Ula, I'm imagining, by the way, Cusco just being like, ah!
Yeah, basically.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Because usually the lava is completely unflappable, but this is one of those.
Yes, it has been flapped now.
I think Whisper is thinking along the lines of old shipwreck stories and things like that, and imagining that if there's a giant creature somewhere, there has to be a cave or an inlet or a crashed ship or something else where smaller creatures hide from it. Something that has a small hole that smaller things can get into that bigger things can't, because if otherwise such things like those eels wouldn't exist in this area if there wasn't a place for them to hide and they knew about this predator. So my first thought is find the place we can run to and hide from this thing. My second thought is oh shit, what's Dipper doing? Or I've got to support them, and so I'm sort of torn between find the place that we can hide and pew 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 to distract this thing and give Dipper a better shot.
This is your moment to decide on your level of heroics, because Dipper launches into the air.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the plan? Are you trying to save the rest of the group, or are you trying to support Dipper?
That is a hard.
I was going to say,
question.
If you want to support Dipper, I can do a study or something around to see if. Because that was gonna be what I wanted to do, was just look around and try and figure out a plan.
Okay. Can we talk? When we speak, can we hear each other?
It's hilarious that it's been 15 minutes and this is the first time somebody actually tested that. Right. But there is a weird echo, and it doesn't sound right. It's very hard to communicate. So if you need to do very precise communication in short periods of time, I'm going to say limited effect. But yeah, you do seem to be able to talk.
Okay.
Nice.
A bit like that, yeah.
Find a place to hide. Yeah. I guess I'm supporting Dipper. It's maybe it's not the smartest move, but I think because of the rash action, it's the thing that's the immediate threat. And
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Whisper.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, good things. How are you supporting Dipper here, Whisper? Is it pew pew pew?
Yeah, I think.
So this is the point where I tell you, great, you're gonna have to tell me what kind of weapon you have, because one of those isn't gonna do a whole lot.
Sure. I mean, I have a blaster.
Do you have a heavy blaster?
No, I don't have a heavy blaster.
Okay.
My thought is not I hurt this thing. My thought is I distract it and annoy it to give Dipper the opportunity. I'm not imagining that these shots will
a standard blaster will do about the equivalent of an ash landing on you, like a piece of ash from a bonfire. It stings, but it doesn't actually do anything meaningful. So it's 100% fine for distraction, but it's definitely not going to add harm, as it were.
Yeah. I'm going for an assist, and I think you said this is a dense jungle and it's really dark. I'm mostly it's a bunch of shots near where I think its eyes are to be a visual distraction, and suddenly things are flying through the air at it rather than
you spending a stress there?
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, Dipper, this is all on you now, and I should probably log into Roll20 because I'm not there yet.
I'm terrified.
Well, you get +1d. So.
Yep. And if you want to trauma on this, you can do it for just one stress. You can push yourself for just one stress.
Oh, perfect. That sounds sensible. I think I have 2 stress, so I can burn 1, and then that'll give me 1 left for any desperate assists later.
Got it.
I guess I'm using scrap because I'm trying to fight this thing.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
What position and effect would I have for trying to pierce it with
Desperate limited. And the only reason it would have been 0, but it's limited because you've got an assist, so you've got technically scale.
Sweet. I think I'll push myself to bump up the effect. So it's desperate standard, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
But no extra dice.
I get the extra die from the assist, right?
That is true. You get 1 die
Yeah,
from assist.
you get
yeah.
1 die from the assist. And,
Look at you, crushing the system. Good job.
Thanks. Okay,
Yep.
I'll go ahead and roll this.
Before you roll, just as a question, I know it's desperate, so it's not coming back, but there is a gambit in the pool.
Oh yeah. Oh, plus, because I'm a wrecking crew, I get an extra when striking in melee, which I totally am. I get a D.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you spend a gambit, I think Wrecking Crew does something
Get
else
another
as well.
die.
Yeah, I get another effect, so it would be desperate.
Well, then you could use the
Do
push die for a die as opposed to an effect, because the effect would be standard anyway.
Should I spend
unless
that
you want a
gambit?
desperate great, yeah. I
It's
think
up to
this
you.
is a good time to spend a gambit. Sure.
Okay, yeah, I'll
absolutely.
totally spin the gambit, and then I'll add my dice for helping, pushing myself, plus the wrecking crew dice.
And the gambit still adds a die as well, right? The gambit
Mhm.
adds,
Oh, cool. I'll add a die on there.
yeah, because the gambit, in addition to giving you effect. Oh no, great. So
I got
7
4
dice,
on there.
and you got a 4. Awesome.
I think I need to
Uh,
stop rolling a lot of dice. I think that's my problem.
So yeah, I think you launch yourself, and there's going to be this like epic kind of like it's this giant crocodile. It's got like a big eel-like tail. It's spinning around, right? Like, and like there's going to be like a terrifying moment where it smashes you against the wall, right, and then like catches you in its jaws, and you use that moment to like strike with a vibroblade inside its mouth, and then like it's roaring so that the whole room is shaking. Like, it's obviously not dead, but it's definitely like hurt and distracted. But this is where I tell you, and dipper dice, because you take 4 levels of harm.
May I resist this?
Well, of course, that is 100% the right of every, like, gosh darn it, it's the right of every Blades character. No. So
I mean, presumably you have some armor as well, if you want it. I don't know what this frame is like in terms of armor, but
So you could take level 3 harm, and then Ula has the special.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do have a whole ability specifically to protect Dipper. So
yep. You could also test it down further. But how much armor do you have? Because all of you folks have the special enhanced shielding, so you have 2 levels of armor. So you could technically bring it down to 2, test it down to 1, and then have Ola negate it. Although that's super risky, because if you don't get a 6 in a resistance roll, you're gonna trauma.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to weigh up.
It's up to you.
And is this Ula's ability that heals 1 harm, not all of it? Or does
when I expend my special armor to resist a consequence from machines breaking or being damaged, I can expend the special armor to resist consequences. It doesn't heal levels.
I see.
Consequences.
yeah. And we've talked about this last time you used it with the Grand Faraniki, that right, like it's how much that will mitigate it. This is sort of conditional, right? Last time it was all of it. This time it may not be all of it, because
I'd have to make a really good case for it, I think.
Yes, yeah, totally.
Actually, I have an idea of how I would make a case for it. But
And like flashback, we fought a void dragon, and also we've seen void eels, and you've like studied their jaw structures and like, you know, retroactively applied some plating to specifically vulnerable parts of like armor. I think we could make this
plausible.
work.
Totally plausible.
Yeah.
I actually have a patented Gen crazy move TM that I'm kind of excited
Let's
about.
do it. Bring it
So I think I brought a small drone with me, and I believe that it's reasonable to say that it's a flying drone with electricity and lights in it.
Yeah.
So probably maneuver okay in water. And I think I've managed to rig it up so that it's going to It's not very big, but I'm gonna rig it so that it tries to get into the thing's mouth and electrocute it.
Oh, okay, I see. So much like there's like laser fire coming in on this thing, there's also like a tiny drone that's
Yep.
like going in and trying to buy Dipper the like spit it out moment.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So I will be a little bit kind because this is an action adventure game, and I will say that it'll reduce it by 2 levels.
Neat.
So
instead of being completely crushed in this thing's jaw, that it gets zapped and it spits
and
out.
it just like shakes its head and like smashes Dipper against the side of like the tank, but like this is just like stupid thing, like it spits it out. Dipper, with Jen's help, you take level 2 harm. You let me know if you want to spend additional armor or test down.
I think I will. Yeah, I'll totally spend my special armor to set down.
Well, actually, it's regular armor, but yeah.
A regular armor.
Unless you have Battleborn, I don't actually check your folks' sheets that often.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, do you spend 1 or 2 armor?
I think I'll spend the 2. Yeah,
Okay,
why not? Yeah.
cool.
Nice. Yeah. So check. You've got the armor, and then beneath it, you've got the heavy, and you can check both of those on your sheet. Just fill up every little box on your sheet.
Can do.
It's fine.
That's how we do it.
It's fine. There isn't something
Excellent.
terrifying at the end of this whole shenaniganery. All right, cool.
Straj.
Yes, sir, Scion.
As a mystic, would I know off the top of my way senses whether or not this particular creature is vulnerable to sundering?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I see what you're asking.
Right.
Because sundering only affects things that are vulnerable to it.
Yes.
I'm going to say yeah.
Okay.
So there are 2 things. There are a couple of things that are not vulnerable to sundering. So let's talk about that. Sundering is basically like mind grenades, right? Like,
yeah.
And so things that are not vulnerable to sundering are usually things that are extremely heavily armored. So if you see like, stuff with like reinforced plating, ship hulls, that kind of stuff is less vulnerable to sundering. And also like people that have had special mental training to resist that kind of thing. So like members of your family, which will totally not come up in this game.
We're never gonna face
they didn't never gonna see them. And other mystics may sometimes be either I will usually tell you things like limited effect and things like that. I'm just being upfront so that when it does happen, you're not like,
wait a minute,
a jerk here. But this thing is just it. The only thing that would give you something like limited effect would be its size, right? Because it's like the size of a freaking crane.
Yeah.
I lift, people's houses packed into containers.
Yeah, it's
not a blue herring crane. Yeah. I think that sundering, among other things, is supposed to be like an area of effect. It takes out like something the size of a small room. So I think this thing is definitely vulnerable to it, even though it's big.
Do I feel like it's more vulnerable to sundering or a heavy blaster?
That depends. Heavy blasters go through walls. Honestly, what I would really like to see first is Ula to make a study roll, because grinding this thing down is going to be a lot harder. If Ula fails her roll, that might be your only option. But if Ula gets a decent roll, then you might want to just book it, and fighting it will be totally irrelevant. Although someone's gonna have to catch the slowly, gently floating as if through water Dipper. It's Ula, would you be willing to give me that study roll there?
I would love to give you the study roll. I'm even going to push myself because that seems important. Position and effect, do those matter for study?
Actually, I'm going to give you a chance at a gambit here. I'm going to say it's risky.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to say it's risky is because there's a giant animal, and it might
That's
decide
fair.
that all of you are delicious.
Okay. Risky standard then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You will definitely find something if you succeed.
And
I got a 5.
Yeah, so you find it and you're delicious. So yeah, you spot and some sort of it looks like it's a panel on the side of this tank that's been damaged and like left loose. which is Ula's trademark of like partial fixins. And so you know that if your group can beeline it for there and like crank that thing open, you can exit this tank and be on the other side of that. And no matter how angry this giant thing is, it clearly hasn't left this area. So like, yeah. You'll be outside of the scope of its little like fish tank.
Yeah.
And when I say little, I mean probably larger than any building you've ever seen in your lifetime, but you know.
But for it, little.
Sure.
Because scale.
It can't fit through that hole.
Yep. Yeah, so I think I would like to do a thing where I somehow rig a tool that I can kind of like chuck at that area that will then have like one of our copious amounts of wire that we brought that we previously established. So we can sort of like pull ourselves into that thing while we're swimming? Question mark.
Oh, okay. Or running and climbing apparently.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me just be clear. What you're making is a makeshift grappling hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Do you need to roll to do that?
I don't feel the need to roll. I just wanted to do it.
Oh yeah. You pull out like some sort of like interface device. You pop the top and like and then you like weld some stuff into place real quick and
Ionic carabiner.
Yeah. As long as that's totally fine. I don't think that's a problem.
Cool.
So the problem here, the only problem here is of course like getting across the ocean floor and up that wall and rolling in while this thing is while not getting caught. So do you folks want to do a group scramble? Do you want to just does Scion want to do a sunder to keep it occupied while everybody else is running, and then only Scion needs to do a scramble? So
there was some immediate threat from the 4-5 result, and I was wondering what that was.
So I think the way that I'm going to describe this is imagine a camera shot like kind of going up, and somewhere at the top there's that like brilliant little star of light as if the light source is above you, and as you're looking up, you see like Dipper gently like floating downwards through the water, like some fluids or something coming out of their body, and then you see the like shadow of the light like cut across the light and start coming down. So there's 3 pieces of the puzzle here. This is the threat. Obviously, the monster has been harmed and is kind of annoyed at all of you. It doesn't really want to fight, but at this point, Dipper needs to be like caught up and brought into the hole. And 2, obviously there's things in these plants that think that you're delicious. You probably want to book it out of here before they change their minds, because Dipper's managed to convince this thing that it doesn't want to eat you right now, but that may change in a couple seconds. And you obviously have to get everyone through the hole. So like with the cabling and the grappling hook, I don't think there's a challenge actually like climbing in through a hole. It's just a question of timing, right? Like if you take like an hour, there's going to be problems. But like if you take like seconds, it's obviously not. So I think how many folks want to do this?
At this point is when I do unleash a sundering, intending to stun the creature for long enough that we can A, grab Dipper, and B, get through the hole.
All right, let's do this. This is dangerous to you, and we don't have a gambit to just negate all your stress costs. So this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So first, I push myself to attune to the way.
Yeah.
And am I catching anybody else in this?
No.
Area effect?
There is a very large. Yeah, you've got plenty of room to maneuver here.
That's what I thought. Then currently my position effect is risky limited.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to push myself again for effect.
Awesome. Amazing.
I'll go up to standard on that.
All right.
And that's it.
I got all this stress. Let's
fix that.
Okay. That's a lot of stress. Let's do it.
I assume that you're doing this very much. Okay, you all go. I'm going to distract it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you even talk, or do you just like stop and like?
I think like what I say is just Dipper, and then bah, like that's the force of the impact of this sunder is like, yeah, I see
Alright,
that shell floating through the water, and that's when I let loose. So I get +1 die from pushing. Oh wait, do I get the +1 die for pushing myself to attune to the way,
Yeah.
or is it just
Yeah,
okay?
you,
Cool.
most powers I believe say that. So let me double check because I have it here.
Sundering was the one that did not.
Oh, Sundering is the one that does not.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
then.
true.
Yeah,
Then I'm only rolling 3 dice.
Only.
Only.
Only. Okay.
All right, risky, and we're at standard now. No
Yeah.
bonus dice. Oh,
Hey!
that's
Look what
sick.
you made.
Pulls it off.
First of
Nice.
all, we got a gambit, so you can write that down in your book.
Yep. I
And then-
already put it on the
Oh,
little
nice.
sheety thing.
I'll grab. Oh yeah,
Sean, you can reposition it. I have no idea.
I'll
where
move
your
it so it's
screen is.
visible on stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a very small window.
And then, I believe that large croc creature is stunned for the moment.
Yep. Problem solved. So
Yeah.
Dipper, you're conscious and not actually that badly hurt anymore, right? Like, how much harm did you take? Level 1?
I think
No.
it was none. I think Jen took
Right.
it down 2, and then
And then you took it down 2.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, like, I'm sorry. I was describing you as if this thing had completely smashed you up, but I think you've got minor nicks and bruises and like a leak from a single like cable that isn't even that bad, like over shoulder. And so you'll just reattach it and be fine. My bad.
No, I think it's still totally appropriate for Scion to be like come in to pick them up. So I
It was
imagine
pretty
they're
ambiguous for a second there.
yeah.
I mean, we definitely saw you getting flinged out of this giant creature's, maw. So yeah, I think it's fair to assume that we all think you're pretty trashed, even if you're not.
Oh yeah, it's that moment where it's like, oh my god, Dip is totally dead, and then it's like the lights and the eyes come on, and it's like, oh thank God.
Nice. So, Stephen, is Scion both Sundering and Grabbing Dipper, or do you want Whisper too?
I would absolutely run forwards and just like
Leap through the water
Ah.
slowly.
Nice.
El Dipper corrects, and then like Antelope Leg jumps off the
lands
wall.
on their own feet, like right in front of me, jumps away. I face plant into the silt.
Oh. So adorable.
Love it.
Nice.
We're
Also,
away.
so I'm not gonna make you folks roll. I just, do you folks like scramble up through the plating on the side of this?
Ula's got the sweet hookup for us to
Awesome.
climb up it.
So yeah, I think you folks clamber through it, and there is like the plates on the side of this tank that holds the water are this smooth, beautiful like texture and everything else. And I think the moment that you pull yourself through the side panel that's loose, that you crank open, you get out of, it's very, very, very different textures. There's a lot of pipes made of stone or something. Everything is in shades of black. There's this like liquid that comes up to your armpits that's made that looks like what do they call it? It's like a black rock. Some people make like rings out of it. It's not obsidian. It looks like graphite, basically.
Yeah.
You're talking about hematite?
Hematite, yeah. It looks like liquid
Yeah.
hematite
Nice.
is what they're running in their pipes.
A very important rock in Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, okay. But yes, it's a hammertite. Sorry about that. I do love dwarves. So yeah, there's a it's very different, right? Like everything is oil slicked. Things are leaking. There are noises and occasional sounds of like pressure valves like releasing and stuff like that, and it looks very, very different, right? Like inside that tank, everything is beautiful and smooth, even though it's overgrown. Like somebody has a fish tank the size of the Empire State Building that they haven't cleaned in
in
30,000
a
years
couple
or so.
thousand years. Yeah.
But yeah, the outside the walls though, it's a little grody. So yeah.
Question: when you're talking about walls, when we first encountered the cylinder, it was just held by an invisible force. The reason why the water didn't all splay out was undecipherable. We just sort of walked into it, right? There wasn't a physical barrier. Now we've gotten up at some point, and there is actually a physical wall here.
Rings. Yeah. Maybe a ring
Okay.
or two. That's
And
not good.
are we still underwater in this tunnel?
No.
Okay.
There's air.
Yeah.
You're up to your
Cool.
armpits in liquid hematite, but yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, I
that
think
was
Ula is sitting on top of Cusco, so she's less in the hematite.
nice. Nice. You could totally ride Cusco.
And I
on
think
it.
Cusco's eyes probably light up, so that's providing us some light.
I don't think you can fully ride him, but like
Okay,
use him
that's
to
fair.
like push yourself up.
Yeah. Okay.
It's mostly because this is some sort of engineering bypass. It's not it's not designed to be like a road. Like you're not supposed to be here. It's you're
Right.
crawling through, what do they call them? GNDN tubes, Jeffries tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you recall, I've been describing this whole place as like built by giants, right? Like the rooms have these like massive, like 30-foot ceilings and stuff like that. So even though it's a Jeffries tube and whoever it is that designed it probably crawled on all fours, it's still roomy for you folks. So riding is probably difficult, but like using Cusco to support you and be out of the liquid somewhat is definitely a thing. Cool. Sweet.
So
how do
that
you folks
was the
continue on? Because you're not on a path or traveling down a known corridor at this point.
So we're looking for the companion artifact to my artifact, and what was the man's name in episode 1? Who had the other?
It's in my other notebook. I got a
Yes.
new.
Oh wait, hang on.
New
I've probably
campaign
got it
notebook
now.
that I didn't write it down again.
Nice.
Malfin.
Melfin, yes.
Malfin. So, I'm assuming that this is kind of like a sewer access. Like there are branches, there are ports and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if I can use a tune to get a general sense and maybe even pull out my artifact, right? And like attune through it in order to try to like get a wayfinding of like, let's point ourselves in the right direction.
Totally doable. But I will point something out.
Yep.
I'm going to say something a little mean. I'm going to say limited effect. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's one thing to sort of, as the crow flies, know roughly the direction that the other artifact may be. It's a very different thing to have somebody who has the capacity to say, map out these corridors or try to figure out like how to get there, right? Like just because you know that the artifact is that direction doesn't mean that you know how to get to where it is.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
I think
what about, hold on a second, Stephen. What if we try to figure out a little bit about this circuitry? I don't think it's sewers. I think it's circuitry. I think we're in the machinery of the aquarium that presumably was supposed to keep it clean and hasn't been running for a while. I think we could give you a setup to not only know where to go, but a pathway to get there. Is that something you're interested in?
I was basically gonna, like, the way that I was thinking of running that was basically being like, okay, I attune, I know that as the crow flies direction, but Whisper is like our navigator and knows maps and like charting and stuff like that. Hey, Whisper, like maybe it's almost more like my attune is a setup for Whisper to like
sounds
actually.
Great. I dig it. Perfect. I think there just need to be those two parts, and
yes,
that sounds great to me.
Cool.
I'll tune away, sir.
I was just gonna roll that straight and see how it goes.
Sounds good.
Is this a fortune roll or is there
no, it's controlled right now. It's about to be not controlled depending on how you roll.
Yeah, well, there we go. All right. Standard effect. All right. Controlled standard. Boom.
Good.
Nailed it.
I'm gonna tell you a couple things. One, you definitely find the direction of the other artifact. You hold your artifact and you feel it almost like a note somewhere else. Good. That feels fine. But two, I will point out that part of the reason why this machinery isn't running so great is you're not the only ones in this fluid. Just letting you know that. Currently it's not a problem. Everything else is fine. Just yeah.
I can't turn my head anymore to the sides, Josh, but you can imagine it continuing.
You still can't see through hematite though.
Just something just mucking up the system.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely hundreds of something mucking up the system. Just
so I get this ping, and I doing cool wave poses, and then I go, it's that direction, but I don't think it's a straight shot. And then I turn to Whisper and I say, and Whisper, we're not alone.
Of course we're not. All right.
And then I think that's when we have the conversation. Like you know maps. I think maybe you can get us there.
I want to. So Josh, you're gonna raise an eyebrow at this, but I'm gonna justify it. I want to helm our way there, and the reason why I want to helm our way there,
we're gonna pilot Cuzco.
So here's a couple of things. Judd usually tells me that this is how gaming with me goes. Somebody says something absolutely ridiculous, and I go, no. And then the person goes, but what if it's awesome? And I go, then yes. So
yes. So tell me. So this whole time, as Whisper has been learning a little bit about the way, and has been more and more terrified about how reliant we apparently are to it. We've traveled through dark hyperspace lanes a couple times now, and
okay. I'm seeing it. Bring it on.
And I just want to say that, like, when we travel through those maps are, whether we realize them or not, those maps are way influenced. That the ways.
Well, it's more than that. The thing that allows you to hook into it, the jump drives, the reason they work is they latch onto actual like way lines.
Exactly.
Yeah, go on.
So maybe this is actually a tune rather than helm, but my perspective, the way Whisper has always interacted with those is through piloting, and I think there's a lot of looking at seemingly nonsensical pathways and finding the route through them. Now, a lot of that's done with computers, but Whisper's an instructor. And back in the day, he made people do this shit by hand. He made people be like, okay, map that path, do it without your nav computer. And they had to spend 12 hours working at it.
Okay.
So I think for Whisper, Helm also applies to this sort of way astro navigation in a way he didn't realize before, but now does. Is connected to the way. So
all right. Well, I will tell you straight up that these backline channel corridors definitely do seem to be channeling way energy, because the precursors could do that. Like, you folks today don't know how to do it, but like they did.
Right. And I just want to piggyback on that and astrogate my way through these corridors.
Okay. You
nuke my effect all you want, but that's
no,
position. But that's what I think.
I think I'm gonna give you limited. I think it'll get you some places, but like, I don't know. Does anyone else have ideas on how to help? Like, I know we've got an expert in Urtech here and engineering, and these are engineering pathways in Urtech, and we've got an honest to goodness Urbot that can interface with some of this stuff. Maybe there's some lost tech. I don't know.
Is there some effect from like me doing the
setup action?
All right. I'll tell you what. Between like you doing the setup action and you doing the navigation, I'll give you standard effect because it was going to be limited normally, but I forgot. Yeah. Setup action definitely sets it up.
Improve. Nice. What's the position?
Still control. If you get a 45, we're going to be in a slightly risky place.
It might not be.
Like
okay.
Sean, I was going to say, do you need an assist? Because I can, I feel like I can, I have an idea about engineering, and it's like, oh, well, they wouldn't put a tube here. They would do it this direction. If this was feeding into that, et cetera, and so forth.
Yeah. I would not only love the assist die, but Whisper would really love to have somebody to talk to about engineering things and navigational things, and not woo-woo space gravitational weirdo. like he's like, yes, that's very helpful right now, Scion. It's very useful information. I'd also like to talk about the burn marks on the top of this thing and what might cause that, and how the flux of this hematite flow might indicate.
I do feel like at least 1 or 2 points in this conversation, Ula's just talking engineering things, and she says something that's like, oh, that could kill us. Oh, I mean, that might have killed an engineer too here and there, blah, blah, blah. So it's like,
people would not walk through that region.
Yeah. She's helping, but she's also maybe like, hurting a little bit too, or scaring anyway.
Yeah. I dig it. All right, I think that's you giving me an assist die. Is that what that looks like?
Yes, that is what it
Cool.
looks like.
All right, whisper. So
I-
controlled standard, and I was gonna push, but I think we're good.
You're
say
fine.
For the record, I'm feeling a lot of guilt about forgetting how to do long division if this goes well.
Nice.
Nailed it. Look at those
We got it.
6s, just stacking them up.
Yep. Just stack it up so we can knock it down. It's
If
great.
only we were doing that on
Lauren, you got rid of all those.
Oh, I got it all out of the way.
threes in
Yeah.
that first roll. It was great.
Get them out of the system.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But there's definitely a point where there's like a knife blade where we're like scratching the stone to like draw pathways and things like that on it, and then yeah, we head out.
So we're gonna do a couple of things. I'm just gonna linger on that scratch stone as you folks move forward.
Nice.
And I think that you see the scratches slowly like reversing in the same order that you made them. That's the thing.
Very cool.
And then there's probably a tense moment where in the show folks want to make things tense, so like, you know, something bumps along your legs, and then a couple of somethings bump along your legs, and then people are in this tight tiny corridor with bad lighting that only use 2 Urbot eyes to like get through, and you're like trying to pop a panel up to get out of it, but nothing actually like terrible happens, right? Like some you'll sniff your legs, and yeah, you pop up this like plate much like the one that you got in, and there's this like strange colored light, and as you exit it, there's a room that's painted completely in crimson. There's nothing dangerous per se about it. Like there's a couple of times where like, you know, people reach down, you pull some other people up out of the weird like hematite pathway underneath it as you're coming up, but like, yeah, it's a room that has no dust on it. You're not 100% sure why, because it's been many years. But like all the furniture and all the walls in it.
I've been in this trap before.
No.
Sorry. Sorry. I've had a character die this way. It's great.
But nothing happens immediately. Like there's a point where you pull people out, and like there's a couple of panels that are like inset into the wall, sort of like speaking in Star Trek terms. It's like as if they had like a replicator or something like there, and they have this weird kind of like growth around it. And if somebody like touches it or like you know, bumps it or whatever, you realize that it's the same crystalline product that is happening in Dipper's chest and Zion's chest. It is a draining of color and the crunch of that like crystalline state. Yeah, so like you folks exit the piping, you close the panel back up, and you're in this like bright red room with bright red, what you assume are chairs and sofas and the things like that. And yeah, there's a couple of these like panels on the walls with this like weird crystalline crunch to them. But yeah, you can easily exit. You definitely see paths forward, but as you start moving forward, that particular calcification starts occurring every once in a while.
Couple questions. The
ahead.
hematite colored fluid, how viscous was it? Like when
Very.
we get out is okay. So when we get out, is it still stuck all over
Yeah,
us?
well, it's slowly coming off of you. It's like being dipped in
motor oil
in stereo where available. So yeah.
Nice.
Is it coming off of us like cleanly, as in like it's not even leaving a mark on our skin, or is it like, you know, you crawled through mud and now it's dripping off of you and your hands are dirty, that kind of thing?
No, it's slowly peeling off of you.
Yeah.
It's slowly coming off. It's not flawless, like you'll see it like pooling in like folds in your clothes and stuff, almost like mercury, but like yeah, it is coming off over time.
Cool. I think Scion sees the crunchy crystals and, you know, like rubs his chest for a moment and then says, I think we're going the right way.
Cool. So, go ahead.
Are the couches here also huge? Are they like giant
Yeah,
size?
they're big.
Okay. So we'd have to like climb up to get onto one or something.
I mean, yeah, but like, what I'm talking about is they're like huge in the sense that like you'd have to jump up and do like a pull up, not like in the sense that they're the size of like a house, right?
Right.
You can get on one if you want, no problem.
Yeah, I think I just want to see what, so far the rooms, although wildly out of proportion, have had some kind of sense to them of like, that was an aquarium. Okay. It's just one that was left for 30,000 years. That this was the internal pipings. This looks like machinery. Cool. This room doesn't make any sense yet. I think I want to hop up on the couch and just try and see like what its purpose was, if that can be divined. I'd like to study it and see.
Sure.
What it
Why don't
was
you roll a study?
for.
It's controlled.
Oh, fine.
No problem.
We're not
Standard,
the only
limited?
ones in here.
That's a very complicated statement.
What's the effect?
Standard. You'll find something out. It'll be okay.
Maybe not. Maybe I don't
No,
find
no,
much
no. That's
out.
fine. It's fine. You'll just find something out risky.
Cool.
So there's this point where you're like looking around. You're like, I don't get it. This is not even comfortable. These are not like real cushions. And there's this effect where like you swap between bright red and bright blue and bright red and bright blue. And as you look around, you see shapes moving, like blurry shapes that are like out of phase, out of time. And you see like it's like a bunch of figures are moving in this room and things like that. For the rest of you, Whisper gets blurry. It's the same effect. It's just Whisper is getting caught by some like weird distorted time field.
I reach out and place a hand on their shoulder, just like.
Oh, great. Would you like to have only part of you get caught by a distorted? Excellent. What are you trying to do here, Scion? What's the plan? Help me out.
I actually have no like objective for this action. I'm not trying to achieve anything, but it's like I'm seeing my friend who's like suffering from the same thing that I am, like have something weird happen to them. So it's like it's more of like it's like reassuring myself that they still exist, like I can still touch them, and then like offering them comfort, like, hey, I'm here, more so than like trying to like pull them out or like secure them or anchor them. So like if you're like projecting threat, this is me opting in.
Yeah. Well, I think
okay.
I mean, I think you have to like reach up, right? Like they're ostensibly like on this couch that's like, super high, but yeah, like maybe like I think we could make contact.
Oh wait,
Whisper
is it Whisper
a little?
It's Whisper who's flickering back. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, I heard Dipper. Cool.
Oh, Whisper is what I said. Yeah.
I'll actually, I'll totally do that.
Sean rolled a 3. Dipper's like having a party down here. It's fine.
I don't know why you guys were so worried.
Dipper's had a hard time making eye contact with anyone after almost getting themselves killed on a quest to save them.
But you're fine.
You're fine.
Yeah, I
made it
just
out.
reach out and put a hand on Whisper's shoulder.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So you see also this like actually, I'll tell you a thing. Whisper's hasn't seen this effect before, but you have.
Oh.
As you reach towards Whisper, your hand hits what feels like the outer barrier of your time bubble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Whisper's just like on the other side, so it's not good.
That's my immediate. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
I think Dipper turns to Ula and like says with all sincerity, like, should we help them?
Truck. I was gonna say before the weird time shifting, Ula was actually gonna see if she could figure out what the hematite fluid was made of, because she needs to know these things. But I think she got like partway through that, and then Whisper is getting blurry. So yeah, now I don't know what I want to do now.
I love this image of like Whisper flickering in and out, and Scion like pushing against it, and maybe Dipper's like pulling on Scion's back, and then over in the corner, Ula's just like got like a vial, like a test.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shake it.
Yeah. So Strash, is it outside the realm of possibility that this looks like it was perhaps people or holograms or images that were playing and I'm getting like snippets of them? This feels like maybe I'm in a theater and I'm seeing something that happened a long time ago or happened in the future, or
But what are they playing on? So in a theater, you project light against. Yeah. Okay.
A
Yeah.
screen.
That's actually what it feels like. It feels like you're in a movie theater, except that instead of projecting light against the screen, they're
right. And the projection is cutting in and out. I mean, that's
yeah.
I think that is at least Whisper's
it's fine.
a
That's
layman's
a good
understanding of it.
mental model to work with. Yes, sure.
Right.
So as soon as I start feeling this barrier and reach through to Whisper's shoulder, I say, "Oh, buddy, we got to get you out of there." And then I do try to like pull Whisper back off the couch.
All right, cool. So what is the action you would like to use to bring Whisper out of this biphasic red, blue, purple room effect?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's more of like, I can see it being kind of like a joint thing, right? Where like I'm relying on my physical prowess in the form of either scrap or maybe scramble to like grab, haul, lift, whatever.
Totally fair.
And
So
then
here's the
also at the same time, like connecting with the way in order to like help isolate him from.
Also acceptable.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed by the rules to tell you which action it is, and I don't have one of my usual like, are you trying to use X? Because
Right.
I have no idea. You tell me what the picture looks like.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is position and effect.
So I think. Sorry, Sean, go ahead. What do you want to inject into this scene?
My inclination is to sort of wait for the moment when is to try and predict the flashing back and forth, and wait for the moment where we have the opening and go for it rather than to just run. So my inclination is, I can't fucking believe I'm saying this, is to use a tune rather than scramble.
Yep.
And I would be happy to participate in a group action. I'd be happy to lead a group action of you like telling me when to go and I have to jump for it at the time.
Yep.
I'll make a mystic of you yet, Whisper.
No. The more he understands about the way, the more paranoid, the more freaked out he is about it. I honestly think that is the most sensible thing to do, but I do think Scion may have to say a few things to get Whisper to trust him. Like, okay, jump down. Because like I'm way up on this couch that is like, I had to do a pull-up to get onto, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm reaching up and grabbing the toe of your boot.
Right, exactly. Like I've got to jump down at just the right moment. I'm happy to do it, but I do think there needs to be a few words of encouragement there that like, you know what the hell's going on here.
Yeah. So yeah, I think with that in mind, it's definitely like the biggest threat here is the time disturbance and what I know the problems that come along with breaking the barrier of the time disturbance. So I think it is like physically, Scion is like using his physical form to like, assist, but most of his effort is going into a tune. So I think there's a moment like I reach out, I grab your boot, I realize what's happening and I say, Whisper, you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you, but it's really important. Are you ready?
Whisper's seeing you flash in and out.
Yeah.
He's seeing these images that he can't quite make sense of. And he's like, there's no place in this sector, in this, I guess we'll stop with sector because there's no place within the hegemony that's safe from all this, is there? And it's like a general, like, God, I can't escape the way no matter what I do. And I'm in like the most concentrated version of it. This sucks.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a frustration as he's like, all right, tell me when. And like, yeah. So yeah, let's do a group attune.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
for
So
it.
I just
I
say
hate it.
this is
Thanks, I hate it.
with I hate this for me. I've seen this before. It's actually if you can believe it, even more dangerous than you think. So on 3, okay?
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll lead. I'm happy to lead that group action.
Oh, I'm so excited about the notion that it's like 1, 3, because we cut in and out.
Can we get some like Sailor Moon, the power of friendship going if Dipper also joins the attune by holding on to Scion and
Absolutely.
channeling what I know of the way into this?
Yeah. Well, you've also
Yeah.
got the crystal growth, so like, you know, you've got extra attachment to the dilation effects.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a great thing of group actions. We can all dive into it. It's just more potential stress for Scion.
I've got 5 left. It's no problem.
Cool. All right, Strush, what is the position effect for us to get a whisper
Risky standard.
out of risky standard?
Hey.
Power of friendship made a standard. Let's go.
I have a proposal for all of us. I think it's a bad one, but
I'm into it.
I'm into it, yeah.
I'm listening.
because I would like to get a little extra out of this. I would like to more than just escape this. This isn't a trap. This is a side effect. This is a glitch that we happen to be caught in the middle of, I think. And I would like to understand a little bit about what these projections are, what these precursor images are saying or communicating. I think if we're all attuning at this at the moment, we could shoot for desperate great and try to, as this sort of additional effect, understand a bit of what this imagery is when we leave it.
Personally, I can see that playing out in terms of like 3. Whisper, I said 3. 3. God damn it, 3.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait. I think I see something. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining. But Srash, is that within the context of this this action?
No problem.
Cool. Awesome.
Desperate though, you have what, 4 dice total? This is gonna be amazing. Yeah, I 4 to 5 is gonna end well. Oh yeah, it'd be fine. I'm sure there's a 6 in those 5 dice. Let's go.
All right, desperate standard.
I'm gonna push myself because I think it's important right now. So
how do we feel about me spending a gambit to push myself? Well, I guess we don't need me to push myself.
It's fine. You have 6 dice. I mean, come on. Where's the confidence?
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I mean,
all right.
Gambits are there for anyone to take, right? Like,
yeah, you no one can stop you.
Right, but yeah.
I guess the fear here is we're putting 3 people on the hook for desperate consequences.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be bad.
I am indeed gonna spend.
All right, there goes the gambit.
Yeah,
let's.
I'm gonna do it. All right, desperate standard with +1 bonus die from the gambit. Here's my roll.
Very afraid right now.
There we go.
There you go.
Anchoring the team. Good job. Oh, look at that.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
This is coming through.
Desperate standard.
Maybe I even just say like Dipper.
Okay.
Oh yes, that is fictionally appropriate dice.
That is very appropriate because Whisper hates all this stuff, but is also like, I have to figure it out. So I think it's totally that moment of Whisper, I said 3.
Well, I marked my stress and then we pull you back.
Yeah.
So Sean, I think that you're right. This is kind of like a movie theater. But what they're actually doing is they're pushing time into a room and watching different flows of time, which is what the dissonance is doing to you. Yeah, it's a leaking time byproduct.
So time is concentrated here, and
yeah. They're projecting time onto space because that's how you watch movies when you're a precursor.
Yeah. Do I see? It doesn't have to make any sense, but do I see something which I presume is either the past or the future?
Yeah, it's distant past. It's not clear because one of the rules is we never actually see the precursors, but
sure.
it seems to be a trial of some sort. You get this from like, your military history. Like there definitely seems to be one person who's being questioned or judged. And you get the sense that they did something really bad and they got like they were having a conversation that was going to potentially like send them far away or something like that. Like is that enough?
Yeah,
it's super
great.
vague, but it's like
no. I just wanted some little tidbit, just like little
30,000 years ago,
jump.
the precursor loved some courtroom drama. So
I
hey,
just want a little thread that we could pull on later if we
beloved precursor movie 12 Angry Grabthorpes.
I was gonna say Law and Order precursor unit.
Chong chong.
So yeah, we good?
Yeah, love it.
All right, awesome. So Jen, I did not forget your question. I would like to tell you something very interesting. The liquid is actually hematite, and you have no idea why it's in liquid state because rocks should not be liquid, but this one is.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this defies all the laws of physics? Sweet.
I mean, we did just breathe water somehow without like, blowing bubbles out. Sure. So this doesn't feel like the first impossible thing from today. It's definitely an impossible thing. But
I mean, according to all the laws of physics, you should not go through a giant stone ring with gargoyle faces on it and then transmit to potentially a different entire galaxy. But you do that like twice a month. So,
Yeah.
Precursors.
Well, consider that the only difference between the difference between a physical and a liquid is generally determined by heat. So it's a melting point. If in this space melting points of hematite are different than in other places, it's perfectly reasonable, right?
I mean, the precursors have used the way to change aspects of space and or gravity. Changing melting points seems like a trivial matter.
Right.
So it's like building an alarm clock. So hey, awesome. So I'm gonna set one more scene, and I think you folks are gonna step out, and it is another one of those infinitely large cylinders. This one actually has walls on all the sides because it's a cylinder, like a tree cylinder. And you see, so like when you pulled the panel off, it was like a weird hexagon or something. And you see a bunch of very similar hexagons sort of like forming, it looks like a viewing balcony. And there is a very large hexagon sort of floating in the middle of the room. And there's this crystalline tree that grows out of the middle of it that looks a lot like a very large version of the tree that Scion carries as an artifact. And there is it's a very peaceful scene, right? Like it's white walls, it's a shining white light. It's a tree that's refracting this light and sort of splintering it like into various shades of the rainbow. And there's like a broken down Urbot sitting on that platform. Just one problem. As far as you can tell, you can see clouds below you, so that's an infinite drop. And there is no obvious path between here and that island in the middle, and it's not like human jumping distance. So Scion, you can tell 100% that the last artifact is in the heart of that tree. You're going to have to extract it somehow, but you believe that tree is actually made out of the same crystallization that your heart and Dipper's heart is currently undergoing. So that is the scene that you folks are presented with.
So
nice. What's the distance between this? Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, does this balcony that we're on go out 360 degrees, or is it just like
no? It's a little protrusion, like the hallway ends into like a hexagonal panel that's been removed, and then there's just like this balcony. It's enough that you folks can move around. There's like I don't know. There's like weird stone panels on it or something. Little like hexes that have come up like little tubes or something. And
so like we obviously have some conversation about this. I informed the group that it's over in there. The question that I eventually want to pose is like, hey, Dipper, hey, Ula, you've got super cool jury-rigged grappling hook, and you've got jump legs. What do you think?
I think Dipper looks to Ula.
I mean, my first thought was gonna be to look around, like on
Study
the
it?
walls, to see if there's panels for something that I can like hack or some rig or something.
Yeah, do it.
Maybe there's a pathway that'll extend.
Yeah.
You know, how far is it from this little viewing path to the
It's significant. I want to say like somewhere between 30 and 50 feet. It's not
Okay.
impossible for Dipper to make the jump with the antelope legs, but it's not
And
a
is it
trivial thing.
same level below us, above us?
Oh, there's nothing as far as you can
No,
tell.
but as far this little island.
Oh,
that's
the
floating,
island's
is
like
it-
it's a little bit below you, but enough that you think that it's artfully placed there so the tree looks cool, not like it's not like 5 floors down. It's like more
Right.
like there so that the tree refracts the light correctly while you're viewing it from this lovely balcony.
nice.
Because
Sorry, Jen, you were studying.
Yeah, I'm gonna study. Is this risky standard or
no, it's controlled.
controlled? Okay.
Actually, yeah, it's controlled.
Would you like an assist? I'm happy to-
It's
I'm
it's up
happy
to you. I'm only rolling 1 die otherwise, so
Yep. Yeah. Why don't I
Um,
assist? Because I think if you're like, there's got to be some mechanism here. There's got to be something here. Like that's very much what Whisper would hope for as well. You press that, and I'll press this. Try turning that. Help me lift this thing.
great.
Yeah.
Or Whisper's just desperate for some like physical answer.
Some
He
mechanical
really,
answer.
really is. He really wants to find a way to make sense of things that are inherently unknowable, because otherwise it means he lives in a universe where the laws that he thought apply don't, and that's very scary.
They
NBD.
do. There are
That's
just
very
additional
Javert
laws
view.
you don't know.
Right,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like believing that Newtonian physics is the sum all of everything, and then finding out that quantum mechanics exist. Right. Like that's the moment that Whisper's having right now, and it's protracted across this whole experience.
Nice.
I
That
got a 5.
crucial assist die.
Yeah.
Cool. So here's the thing. Whisper's really bad at this, but how does one interact with precursor machinery?
How does
The
one
The answer is a tune. You use the tune
Yeah.
to turn it on and off the same way that humans use fingers to turn on and off
Yeah.
alarm clocks.
Yeah.
And what you realize is that when you're out on this podium and you're tinkering with those like cylinders and stuff, there is a way to like click one, and then when you do, you see like one of the wall panels from the cylinder just falls off, and it goes to like fall silently as if it's going to plummet 1,000 feet and disappear into the void, and then it just stops. And then you see the little like hex panel just like fills in the slot.
Nice. I think for Whisper, tuning feels very much like getting a little very focused migraine. He's just like, to the point where like a blood vessel is gonna burst, and then click. Yeah.
I think this might be the bit where Whisper figures out that Ula actually can attune.
Probably
Nice.
better than Whisper, actually.
Yeah, I've got 1 dot in it, so
Yeah. Whisper has 1 dot, but it's a freshly earned dot.
yeah.
I'd say I've used it 5 times in my life. It's still shiny dot.
So you visually, one of those panels is flopped down.
Yeah, and
as
it just
though-
hovers in midair.
and it's next to us. It's near.
No, it's like 20 feet that way.
Okay.
Ula didn't quite nail her controls correctly,
Yeah.
but like, she got something to happen, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, it's a thing. A thing happened. So like,
Mhm.
I kind of waited to see what you folks want to do next.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a clock I can do, I have an ability to fill extra segments, but I don't know if you guys want to sit here and wait for Ula to just futz with stuff.
You can
I
just,
think-
yeah.
I think Whisper realizes like, okay, if the way to control this thing is understanding the way, Cyan is probably going to help you more. And normally I don't think Whisper would really like upset about not being useful. He wouldn't be like, pride wouldn't enter into it, but right now it is. And so he's like, yeah, Cyan probably could just turn this thing on and off. And he goes and like, he's like, I got a headache. I need to sit down for a second. And he kind of sits back and just sort of watches. He's gonna step out.
Are you gonna like keep going, Ula?
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody else wants to do something else, I feel like the getting one panel to come down tells me that there's probably other panels I can get to come down.
Yeah, I
And
think.
it's just a question of like which buttons to press or which things to attune with or whatever.
All right, I have an angle here, which I think is like, Scion overhears Whisper saying, Scion can probably just do this in his sleep or whatever, and, sits down in a huff. And I step up as if I'm going to do that. And then I just sort of like kind of quietly say, someone has taught me that one of the great joys in life is seeing someone else succeed. And then I just like walk over to Ula and I say, you're doing great. Just take a deep breath. And I'd like to give you an assist for carrying forwards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Neat.
Love it.
I think in parallel, Dipper will dip out to talk to check in on
Whisper.
Yeah, to be like, and just to give a similar like, you can't save everyone all the time. Like I know this.
Aww.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to like. I also know what it's like to feel useless, and that's okay too.
Right. I do feel like it's not like in either of our cases we failed, but I do feel like both, and you're going into the crocodile's jaws and me like not having this quite work. There's this like feeling like we fucked up, and I think both of us sitting there, Whisper visibly like wrinkled forehead, like visibly like in a little bit of pain, and you like with like some busted parts. I don't know. I like that image of them kind of commiserating that feeling like sometimes things don't go right, and it just sucks, and you have to just sit with it. I
could use my one doctor to give you like a head massage if like your bike hurts.
You can actually so as a point of note, doctor's used for a couple of things, not just physical betterment of people. It's used also to determine emotions and deal with like emotional comfort, and it's also used to science a problem. And I mean this in a very sci-fi way. Like I would like to apply science to it. So yeah, you definitely could use doctor if you want to.
Dipper has good bedside manner.
Yeah.
That's actually a tool, and only Stitches get it. I'm sorry, but yes. They don't have to check it, so you can be house, but So let me ask this: like, do you actually want to use doctor, or?
Yeah, I don't know what it'll do mechanically, but I can.
Well, no, this is what we say. Is like we say, Sean, do you feel like if Dipper tries to care for you, it would actually make Whisper feel better?
Yeah, I think Whisper is not like Whisper's like go on without. He's not fatalistic at this point, but there's definitely a feeling of I'm out of my realm and I don't really have anything to contribute, and I'm just going to get in the way. And I think that he could get out of that funk, or at least, I don't think you get out of funks like they don't flip off like a light switch, but like be reminded that like everybody feels that way sometimes, and it's okay. And like,
I don't know, someone gives me a hug, I definitely flip out of funk sometimes. So.
Yeah.
Oh, hugs.
So dear viewers, I am gently telling you now that what we have just engaged with is a PvP mechanic, and not player versus player, but PC versus PC. So I've asked Whisper, hey, do you feel like your mood can be changed? We got a yes. So Dipper, would you like to roll some doctor and make try to make Whisper feel better, and we can see how that roll goes?
Heck yes, I could see it going either way, because like Dipper feels much the same way, and their function is burnt out, and they're not useful.
I would say this is risky, and to me, I think the risk is that I bring you down instead of you lifting me up.
Yeah, I love it.
Right, like instead of us like being like, yeah, we feel better. However, I would like to assist you on this, because like Whisper doesn't want you to feel useless, right? Like he's not active in this, but he is like, when you say like, I know what that's like, he's like, no, what do you mean? Like, I think so I'm spending a stress to give you an assist. All this
it was Whisper's assist that was critical for Ula's success.
That's
true.
Very true.
There's an open door there for reminding Whisper that he was more effective than he might otherwise think.
In fact, it's very impressive that one can use their voice with such effectiveness when mine often does not feel that way. I got a 3.
Oh no!
There's just two very sulky individuals grumbling on the
Yes.
floor behind us.
Yeah, in that case, Dipper will like plop down next to you instead of like chin in hand.
Yeah.
And I think likewise it's a migraine touch to like their head.
I love it.
All right, so cool. So Scion and Ula, do you wanna give me the roll to see if you can control the artifacts to control these hex panels and see how it goes?
What am I rolling?
I can't tell you that.
Okay.
I believe attune was what you were going for, but
Yeah. I'm just way better at rig than attune. And if I use rig, I can get an extra segment if it's a clock.
it's not a clock.
It's not a clock. Okay.
Personally, Ula, I think we could justify you swapping over to rigging now that you can like see the inner workings of this machine and interface with it. And also I'm like hand on shoulder pushing with attune.
Yeah.
So that's like how we interface with the way portions of this artifact, but we're really doing it through your rigging.
Yeah.
Neat.
I could totally
like
see
it.
you being like, Scion, push that.
Yeah.
Scion, turn that on.
I love
Okay.
it. That's great. That's perfect.
That's good.
So you're giving me an assist?
Yes.
Okay. Then it is risky, controlled?
It's gonna be controlled for now. Might get risky in a hot
for now.
second. We'll see.
Okay.
That's
Standard?
okay. We'll just keep rolling sixes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, standard.
Okay.
The standard effect being you figure out how to make a path between here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a 6?
Hey,
Told ya.
it's fine. You got one. And
Killing it.
occasionally one of the platforms vibrates, but like it seems to be holding. It's really interesting because you actually have to like drop the panels and then rotate them. So it's like
Oh, like lock them in or something?
yeah. It's like you have to like drop it down and then rotate the whole circle. And so like you have to
It's
like
a
find panel.
puzzle!
Yeah, it's a puzzle. And it takes like a good like 5 to 7 minutes, but finally like you actually make a line and then like rotate it back so that you actually have a path between you and the thingy.
I think when
Director's set of-
when Ula finishes this, she's like, yeah, right? She's like very excited about it.
Well, actually, there's a moment where you're like, yeah, and then they start to fall into infinity, and you grab the controls and they like stabilize again.
I love it.
So
I love it.
So that's where we're at now. Cool.
And then we look over and see our sad friends.
Yeah, they're really sad, still sitting on the corner. Like,
I mean,
I think
here's
at
the
this
thing
point
is-
their like legs are dangling off the edge down to infinity. They're you know,
Yeah,
every
pretty
once in a
much.
while like a cloud flies by.
If this were an anime, it'd be like very serious moment with like full figure drawings for myself and Jen, and then like we look back and there's like two chibi figures
yeah.
behind us with like dark clouds over there and like little horizontal slits for eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. I love that like multiple worldview imagery. Yeah. It's
I think Ula looks at Scion and is like, I mean, I'll take Whisper if you want Dipper, unless you want the other way around.
I think your proposal is best.
Great.
yeah, I think it's impossible not to like be somewhat knocked out of this fugue by the fact that they've succeeded, right? Like I think we're sitting there all like commiserating with one another, but then like we see it done, like, whoa, they did it. Wow. That's impressive.
Guess they didn't need us anyway. It was
The saddest day. Oh my god.
But I think you're right. I think like when that clicks into place and like we feel that like of like the puzzle solving, we're like, oh
Yeah.
So I
Ula
walk
totally
over to
offers a hand to pull Whisper up.
yeah.
And
walk-
not,
oh,
in, not
nice.
in like a only if you want it way, in a come on, let's go.
Let's
kind
get
of way.
going. Yeah. I love it. That
I think
Whisper
I'm
responds well to tough love.
I'm much more of the, you know, here's my hand if you want it, Dipper.
Dipper will like take
Yeah.
it gracefully.
And I say, Dipper, it's time.
I think Dipper nods very sincerely and it's time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm happy to lead the way across the platforms to this massive.
Yeah.
glowing tree.
Whisper has a moment of consternation before we go. He's like, that crystallization of time, to put a gross term to a larger concept, seems to be affecting you. And I don't know if proximity is a relevant factor in that. Is it, Sion, do you think it's safe for you to go to that tree? Do you think it could accelerate the process already happening?
Like, do I know anything about this, Strash, other than
I can tell you some stuff. Remember that like you've attuned to your artifact many times, and even though like you don't necessarily like know it inside and out and its construction or whatever, Whisper is raising a good point. It could be bad, but the way that Strash reflects that point is I say things like, well, that's gonna be risky. It could hurt, but who else is going to reach through crystallized time to pluck the artifact from the center of the tree? And if you have volunteers, then great. But I believe the other person is also crystallizing. That might be.
Yep. I think so. Like my response is something like, the way is a huge mystery, and I think I'm maybe realizing that I understand even less of it than my dear teacher thinks that I understand. But generally, these things have rules. And Dipper and I made a stupid mistake and we broke the rules. But as long as we stay in the lines, then we could be okay. And then I pause for a second. I make sure to really make eye contact with you, Whisper.
Yeah. No, he's very much paying attention. He's listening. Really.
And I say, I can't do this without you. Then I look around at the rest of you and I say, I can't do this without any of you. This thing is beyond me, but it might not be beyond us. And that's when I turn and start walking across the bridge.
Oh, so dramatic. I think this is a cool moment where your foot touches like the island and people are coming up beside you. And are you making a beeline for the tree?
Yeah, I think I'm I have direction.
Yeah, I think that there's I did mention there's like an Urbot inside like a little crystallized formation here, right?
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say Ula's going for that Urbot.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh, yeah.
So I think like Ula's headed towards the Urbot. Sion is headed for the tree. Everyone's like on the island, and things seem to be. Well, actually, no. I have a very serious question. Who's keeping the platform going?
I was worried about
requires it requires like constant manipulation so that
someone has to be like turning this stuff and holding the things in position, because if you let go it just falls,
right?
I mean, if Ula wants to like rig a solution, and poor Cusco's over there like has like wires running out of him into it, it's fine. I'm not trying to make this like super difficult. It's just that if Ula has access to those controls, this next scene is about to go very differently. But like, I need to know who's where.
Yeah, I think you guys tell me. Are you more comfortable with me leaving Cusco there and having maybe limited control over those controls through Cusco, or like I'll stay back if that's what I need to do? I'm interested in checking out that Urbot, but I primarily am going to take care of my friends. So if I think that there's a way that we might be stranded on this island if I don't stay, I'm just going to stay.
So it seems important to know, could Dipper servo leg leap between the platform and the crystal tree?
But it's probably going to cause stress. Dipper, how's your stress doing?
All right.
I got one.
Good to know.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, like, so my personally, and like totally open to disagreement here, I think it's cooler if this is like group attune. Let's all pool the various attune knowledge that we've all earned over the course of this adventure into like pushing our way into this crystal and grabbing the thing, maybe also grabbing the Urbot. But if anybody else feels like, nope, I'd really like to be the person manning the controls and like guaranteeing the exit, then that's also cool. But that's what I was shooting for with like, because like each of you have earned a dot and a tune, which is super cool and not, I think, entirely consistent. And it feels like each of you is super important in like reaching this moment. And yeah.
I am similarly down for, having to figure out how we get back if things go poorly, and Cusco staying back, and Jen, you being able to be part of the action.
Sounds good.
Because while that is a very important part of the action, it's maybe not the cool, like, I get to discover a thing, to find a thing element. And like, yeah.
I trust
cool.
I trust Cusco. Cusco's great.
Yeah,
I
great,
feel-
Jen.
I
Why
feel
don't you
like
give me a rig roll to see how well Cusco is holding that thing up?
Okay. Risky
No
standard.
problem. Oh yeah.
Cusco's never let us down.
6.
The gambit.
Yeah,
You get a
gambit.
gambit.
Yeah, look at
Yeah,
that. Yeah, Cusco is just like, like ting. Platform is steady, doesn't even vibrate. Cusco is not moving an inch.
Just
but
chewing
yeah.
on a random wire.
You folks get to the platform, and everyone's ready to sing Kumbaya and give it a happy group effort to get this thing out with all the lessons learned and everything. And that's when your GM is an asshole, because that's the point where you hear the cracking and the crystal starts falling off of that Urbot, and it slowly stands up. And
Nice.
to most of you, there's this just weird, like, noise that it emits. But Dipper, it's actually speaking. And there's something that happens back in your memory core. You feel a lot of those, like, empty places that your memory has been wiped resonate in a strange way. And it gives, like, a very, Pacific Rimi kind of, like, giant robot noise. And as it looks at all of you, to most of you, you think that it's some sort of, like, monster, or it's, like, trying to threaten you. But I think what it says is, system override, wrong dangerous sector, please step away from the engine. And you realize that, like, its chest lights up where it has its core. And the thing about this Urbot is that it has 2 cores. And we should
They're
take a
drift
break.
compatible.
Love it.
A
All
plus.
right.
Very
break
cool.
timing.
All right, friends. We'll see you all in a few minutes. Go make your tea. We're gonna come back and talk to this AirPod. Sure will go great.
Yay.
See you all soon.